Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. I'm out here today working on a project on my car that you're joining 3/4 of the way through the project. It's a fender that I had got into a fender bender with the car. I've owned a car over 20 years, and for the first time last year I tapped somebody in a parking lot. We kind of hit on straight on. He came around a corner and I was there, and he pushed in my fender. The fender got a little caved in, and that's how this project started. It did have a little bit of fender rot down in the front fender, and so I've taken care of both of those projects, and I've painted the vehicle. Not the entire vehicle, just the fender. And the car's black, and the fender is a slightly different shade of black. I was using Dupli-Color's paint shop system. They're jet black, and I would have figured, there wouldn't have been any difference between the the two different color of blacks on here. But there is, and it may be just that I need to finish polishing. So the fender's been painted with a few coats of jet black. It's also primered first. All the body work was done on it. The Bondo, every little thing that you need to do. I cut out the bad section of the fender, welded in the new one, did all the work surrounding that, and now you're about ready to see the car and the difference in paint and see if I can color correct this paint. So let me flip around the lens here and we'll start again. Okay, here's the fender back on the car. It's just lightly placed on there. Change orientation here. The dent was about right here. There's no dent. I pounded it out, and just a little bit of filler in there. The rest of the fender is now in pretty good shape. Down here is where, and I apologize for the light. Let me grab a light. Down here is where the body rot was. It's been all cut out and replaced with the fender, with another fender piece that I bought. And there it is on the car. Now, whoops. Now here's the difference in paint. I don't know how well it's going to come out on camera, but there is a slight difference in the paint, and I am hoping that when I buff this out, that the paint is going to come in closer to looking like the rest of the car. That is the hope. I'm going to walk you through what I did, and hopefully, we'll end up with a result that I can live with. The hood's still off. I'm working on the hood still, and I'm going to do the other fender. And just to give you an idea of what kind of rot I had on the other fender there, I'll show you this fender. This fender has yet to be completed, but you'll see the type of situation that I had. And this is pretty normal for a car this age. It's never really been in a lot of snow or rain or anything else. I don't think. It's just something that has happened over 50 years of service. There were some all A-body cars, GM A-bodies, basically suffered from the same rot in the same place. So that's what we're dealing with. I'm going to go ahead and take this fender off, and then we'll be back. I've got to wet sand it and then buff it out with the new polisher that I picked up. So see you then. All right, I got the panel outside now. I'm going to show you the panel, wipe it down with the wet rag. There are some water spots on it. This is Florida, and it does rain quite often down here. Even though I keep my projects pretty much out of the weather, you can't avoid, especially during hurricane season, strong winds that can get water under awnings and stuff like that. So let's take a look at the panel now and go over what we're going to do. All right, so This is the panel as I painted it. This is all done outside. So I painted this panel outside. I worked on it outside. I welded it outside. I cut it. I did everything out here. So, you know, this is truly, you know, somebody doing it from their backyard. All right, so there is some orange peel in here. You can also see the water spots in here. I'm gonna wipe them down, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over this with a 1500 grit wet sandpaper, and that is gonna scuff it up. I got about 2 or 3 layers of clear coat on here, and so I'm just going to be roughing up the clear coat so that I can get rid of the orange peel and hopefully buff it down to get a closer match to the color, the rest of the color of the car. This is supposed to be jet black, and it should match the rest of the car, even though the rest of the car is in a black lacquer from, you know, 25 years ago. It still should match up, I'm hoping. So let's go ahead, get started. Get the rag here. Just wipe off some of these water spots, hopefully. Even though I'm going to wet sand it, and it probably wouldn't make, you know, too much difference. I'm going to go ahead and do it just as a precaution. All right, so what we have here is just your normal 3M 1500 wet sanding, wet or dry sandpaper on a Durablock. This is one of their thinner Durablocks. I know it's not full size. This kind of paper does not have the hook and loop on it like some of the other ones I use. So, you know, it is what it is that way. So we're gonna go ahead, get it wet, and let's start polishing. Wet sanding rather. Alright, now I'm not going over this real hard. I'm just trying to knock the peaks off the paint. And it's kind of something that you have to go by feel. As I go through this, I'm feeling spots that this is sliding over really quickly, and other spots where it's catching. So where it's catching, I know that I'm not done. Where it's smooth, I know that I have a smooth surface, which is what I'm looking for, so that when I get my polisher out here, it'll have a little easier time trying to bring this panel back into submission. Alright, so it's grabbing pretty good right down in here. Alright, let me finish up this panel and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and I made a pass with the 1500 grit sandpaper, and what you can see is that some spots have gotten hit, the high spots have been hit, and the low spots are kind of still a little bit shiny. So one thing that's difficult, at least for me to do, is to, after you've put so many hours into making a panel look okay, is come back out and make it look like crap again. So, but I know it's a necessary step, but I'm being ginger about this. I don't want to make the mistakes that everybody says, oh, you know, don't burn through the corners. I know you can't see there well. I'll flip it over, but it looks the same. Don't burn through on the corners. You know, take it easy. You know, so that's what I'm trying to do here. So I think now that I've got a baseline of what I've done and what I need to work on just a little bit. Like I said, I do not want to erase all of my work. Now down here it's feeling smooth. once in a while, like here, you can feel a little bit of grab. So even my fingers picking up on that. But once again, I am coming back with a buffer with a cutting compound. So if I was not to get this any worse than I've already hit it with the sandpaper, I have a feeling that Meguiar's, I think it's 105 cutting compound, should be able to handle, you know, getting through any of this. So once over again, a little lighter, and I've only used the single piece of 1500 sandpaper. I'm not even sure that was new. I might have used it on a different part earlier, I don't know, but I'm going to give it a little light scratch over again, just on some areas that I can feel, and then we'll be ready to start polishing. Okay, what you're looking at here is the final sanding that I did on the Fender. I did go back and change and put on another 1500 grit sandpaper, so I did use like 1.5 of them, because the other one I started with was a little used. So this one cut down through a little better than the first one did, and as you can tell, I'm pretty much all the way through there. I mean, it's really hard to convince yourself after you put all this time into the painting and the clear coating to get very aggressive with your paint, which is exactly what I didn't want to do. Everything came out pretty good. There's only one slight defect that I saw, which is right down here. It looks like somehow I might have burned through. You can see these two other little spots. This is when I had left it sitting up on its side, and it was sitting on a piece of cardboard, and they may look, I'll be interested to see what they look like, but it was sitting on a piece of cardboard. When I pulled it up, I pulled the paint right off of there. So I tried a little repair on there. I probably could have done a little better. I'm going to wait and see how it looks. Like I said, it looks like I have a little burn through. It's the only one I could find. And I'm going to treat that just as I would the other thing. These feel pretty smooth, so I mean, they're showing up pretty bad, but I think they look worse this close up than in person. Other than that, I'm pretty happy. I mean, okay, so I'll walk over to the table there and show you what steps are next. All right, so I bought a polisher. I had a D.I.Y sander that I did a lot of the rough work when I was doing the Fender, but I had never really been a buffer. So I went on Amazon and tried to find a buffer that seemed to be a decent model. So I ended up with this Ginmore. It's a Chinese brand, but it was rated pretty good on Amazon. It came in that case, and it came with these pads. I think it was about 72, 97, something like that. And it came with everything except for the Meguiar's and this couple of polishing towels. But the pads, the D handle, the tools, the grips, all of that came. This was a separate purchase. I bought a couple other sized. This is a 6-inch pad over here, and these attachments are 6-inch. So I bought a little kit that gave me a 3-inch, a 5-inch, and a 6-inch with pads with each. But I'm going to try what came with the machine. I'm not sure how good quality they are. They look like they're, you know, probably halfway decent. I'm not trying to make a show car. I'm just trying to make something that's presentable and decent. And I don't want to over restore it. I've had that car a long time. If I get it too nice, then I think I'd never want to drive it. So, you know, I'm just trying to be look decent, be solid, do good repairs. Is everything perfect? No, but nothing structural is bad. Nothing, you know, if there's one or two little paint things, as long as there's not holes in it and stuff like that, that's what I'm going for. So I'm going for a good job, but not necessarily a perfect job. I'm gonna go ahead and try my hand with this. I've never used a dual action. Supposedly they give you the least amount of worry about burning through. And let's see how this goes. Meet you back over at the car. Okay, so here's the game plan. I'm going to try this Meguiar's 105 Ultra Cut Compound. Now, as you can see with that label right there, that I need an extra cut type of compound because I have a lot of severe scratches that I just put in with the sandpaper, with the 1500 grit sandpaper that I have. I also took and placed on here the wavy, it looks to me to be the bigger cell. So the material on here looks to be the more open and the less fine of a cell. I believe the wavy is for hide cutting. So what I'm going to end up doing is put the Meguiar. I'm going to start off by putting a few dots of the compound around this. Now it'll probably use a little extra because this is a brand new pad and it's never been used before. I'll put a few dots on there, smear it on the fender here. Start at a lower RPM, maybe around a 1 or a 2 on the thing. I think it goes up to like 5 or 6. And then I'm just going to start on a section, you know, maybe a section like around here, somewhere around here, and test it out, see how it goes, and bring you back. Hopefully everything goes all right, and I have a decent looking panel that hopefully at the end will match the rest of my black car. So let me get started on that and bring you back, and we'll see what we're at. Hey guys, just got done doing the polishing on this one section of the fender here. I probably picked one of the worst places to start on, but after I got into it, I'm like, yeah, you've got to do this area anyways. The reason I say that is it's got compound curves, all sides or edges. I'll show you here, but I was super impressed with the results. Like I said, I put the compound on the pad. Like I said, I started with that wavy pad. I made you know, probably 5 to 6 passes across it. Probably took about 3 to 4 minutes, and I think it came out pretty good. So let me compare. Let me bring you down and show you what I see. Scuffed up with the 1500 grit sandpaper. You know, it looks pretty hopeless. It's very difficult to bring yourself to the point where you want to do this. But I got to tell you that just going over this with a few minutes of polishing on that sander, wow, what a result! I mean, this looks good. I think you're going to be able to see the palm trees, the yucca plant here in the background, reflecting off that fender. Now this is with Meguiar's 105, so I haven't even got to a polishing compound, and you can kind of see where I stopped and where I begin again on this panel. That is about, I'd say about 1 foot to 14 inches, somewhere around there across, and then down. Like I said, there are multiple compounds, you know, multiple curves here. So you got a curve rolling over here. You got curves over here. You got to be careful of. You got curves all around here. So, well, this gets down into where I haven't done yet. But I came down to about right here. Yeah, I'm super happy. That looks pretty doggone good. I know it's hard to probably tell. But at least you can see the reflection of the plants in the paint now. There still may be, I mean, you can't see it, but maybe a little bit of orange peel look to it. I don't know if that's because of the paint underneath. I did wet sand or color sand that paint before I sprayed it with the clear. So to try to eliminate, you know, because I'm not a professional painter. I'm a weekend warrior, and you know, so I'm doing what I can here to make this look as good as I can. Let me go ahead and bring you back. I'm going to go ahead and polish the rest of this and bring you back when it's done, and hopefully we have a result, and then maybe I can run in still have time, put it on the car again and see if I'm going to be happy with the match between the two. Now, one important thing to realize, the reason I didn't do this on the car was because of this. This is the trim, the chrome trim that goes on the car. It runs the entire length of the fender, and there's more than one of them. There's one down here, one that goes around this wheel arch. There's pieces of trim that go on the front here. They're just everywhere. And the real pain is that you cannot, once you put the trim on, there are nuts that go through the trim. The trim's got threaded tabs on it. You've got to get it from the, from the inside. And if you mount this sucker on the car, you'll never get your hands in there, because there are other pieces that come in here. It's a thick piece that the headlights go into, and it goes back and it blocks these holes up here for those nuts. So you've got to do it in the right order, and if you try to do that on the car, good luck trying to put that trim on and get them nuts back on there that hold that trim on while it's doing that. So it's best to go ahead and get all your work done on the fender at the time that you are, and make sure it's ready for the trim to go on, because then you'll put the trim on outside and then offer up the piece to the rest of the car to bolt on. I do not recommend trying to put the trim on after this fender is on the car. It is just way too difficult to do that. And so that is my one tip right now for this. I still got a ways to go to get this fender done. There was some spraying of the material. You can see it speckled on. So this is the McGuire's that got thrown around. Even though I rubbed it into the thing, with these curves, it allows the edge of the buffer to come up just a little bit off the surface. And when it does, it just starts shooting stuff. So, I got it on my pants and everything else. So just be aware of that. Okay, let me go ahead and finish the rest of this panel and get back with you. All right, bringing you back now. I have finished the first step, which is the polishing. As you can see, the pad that came with this Ginmore polisher, some of the tops of the waffle pad here have gotten knocked off, primarily because there's a lot of corners, edges on here, I feel, and it just got knocked off, and it was the cheap pads that came with the things. Okay, so let's run into the finished product now. This is after the polishing. So I just polished with wherever my McGuire's is, it's underneath there. McGuire's 105 cutting compound to get rid of the scratches that I put in with the 1500 sandpaper on the clear coat now are gone. So the compound did an excellent job in removing the scratches left by the wet sanding. I'm super impressed with its ability to do that. And I will say, without this being mounted back on the car, that it definitely looks blacker than it did prior to this happening, prior to me doing this step. I do plan on doing one more operation on this, which is running the polishing compound on here. I'm hopeful that that'll even gain me even slightly better results. Now, there was a couple areas that I had pointed out that I was a little nervous about. I don't know how well they're going to show up. Well, there's a spot where I might have burned through. I'm not super worried about it. I'll handle it when I get to it. And there's those two little areas. Boy, you barely feel them, but they're there. Here's the way I look at that. I mean, if this is the only two areas that people are going to really notice, and that's what they think they found, then I'm super happy, because that means they don't know nothing about the dent that used to be right about here, somewhere around this vicinity here, that I pounded back. And if we look at it from the back side,
No, you can't see too well, but it used to be there. You're seeing the polish that's splattered on the inside here. I need to clean it up, but there is no dent there. And the other area would be down here where I completely cut out this panel up to about right here, somewhere around right there, and from there down, that's all new panel that was cut out, welded in, and I think we're pretty doggone good. Can't really tell that there was ever anything that happened there. So if they only see the two little marks up here, they've completely masked what really happened to this quarter panel, and I feel okay. Like I said, I'm not trying to do a concourse car. I just like my car to look nice, and so far I'd have to say I'm pretty happy. I will say though that this is a lot of steps, and this did take several weeks to get to this point right here, primarily because, you know, we all work, do my day job, do this on the nights and weekends, and the weather has not been the greatest down here with hurricanes and everything else. So anyways, let me do the polishing and bring you back. Okay guys, I just got done putting on the polishing compound on all of this surface here. So I have the polishing compound done everywhere except for the top panel, because I had this panel up on its side and I wanted to get all of the side pieces of it done. So it looks pretty decent. I must say that the original reason that I was making this video was to try to help anybody else that was in the same position as I was, where, you know, they painted it and they cleared it and then it just wasn't as black as they thought it was going to be. This, to me, taking these few extra steps, has definitely darkened how black this paint is. Is it perfect? No. I can still see some orange peel in it underneath, not on the top surface so much, but underneath the clear, I think, a little bit, because I didn't sand, I guess, aggressively enough. This is a learning process for me too. I am not a professional. I've just got lucky on some of these repairs and they've come out pretty good. Like I said, to me, I wanted to get something that looked decent. It didn't have to be concourse, and I think I'm getting there, because this isn't a concourse car. This is just a good, solid, dependable old car, and I'm trying to keep it in that vein. So let me go ahead and finish the top here, and then we'll go from there. Okay, and I'm back. I have finished polishing all of this fender now. So this was the part that was last to get polished. To me, it's looking pretty decent. You can see the reflection of the bushes above me. The fender, to me, looks good. I mean, the good thing is I'm seeing my reflection in the camera here, so that's telling me that you know, it's looking fairly decent. I'm hoping the sun isn't washing out too much of this video. I am in the shade, but if I was in the bright sun, I don't think I could see the screen. So, and I can't work in the sun. It's only like 95 here today, so I am already soaking wet. You can see all the holes. That is for the emblems that I'll be putting in next. That's another reason that I want to do all this polishing now, because you'll never get that polish to look decent if you had the emblems in there. And you cannot put those emblems in if the inner fender is inside there, and it's just a pain unless it's out of the car. So it's best to polish this particular piece, the fenders, outside of the car, put everything back on it, and then put this unit back on the car as one single thing. One other thing that I did, and I might show this on a later video, is I replaced the latch on the door that this goes, so the door that would be right here, there was new hinges that I put on, and believe me that is best to do that with this fender off. I will do the other side when I do the next video, but this video was to help anybody that's in the same position as me that had painted one of these things and it didn't look like it was as black as it was supposed to be. And I'm telling you that this looks a lot blacker now since I've gone through the work of wet sanding with 1500 grit, and then come back and hitting it with a 205 Meguiar's cutting compound, and then I finish it up with a polishing compound. And let me go to the back side. I know I've talked about some of these repairs and you've seen what they look like from one side. Let's come in here, and I don't know if you'll be able to tell. So this is where the emblems are. Starting about, let's see, it's got to be right here somewhere is where I welded in this new piece, this new fender. I also put a couple of patches on this brace. Let's see if I can get in here. There you go. I put in a couple of, there were some holes in the secondary brace, so I had to cut and bend these pieces to fit in here. This was a little bit challenging, that piece there. I don't know if it's coming out really good, but it does like a Z bend right here and then back over. And that was kind of tough to make on the vise, but I did it. So I went through and patched the inner brace here, and then I cut out the new, cut out the old metal, and then put in the new metal. And this is all new from inside here. And of course, cut the holes in the thing so I could do the riveting of the, not riveting, but the welding plug welds that I was to put in here to match what the factory had done. So that was the repair on this side. Looks pretty good. I had painted the inside of the fender. I also did this in primer. So I used primer on the entire fender inside and out. I didn't want any rust later. And like I said, this is the front of the fender. There was a dent right around here somewhere. I can't remember exactly, but as you can tell, there's no evidence of a dent. I pounded it out and put a little Bondo on the front of that so you could never tell. Everything's looking pretty decent. Pretty happy with the way the fender came out. I'm sure somebody wants to see those two spots. Try to see if I can pick them up right there for the two areas that were there. They're kind of visible, not so much, but like I said, if that's the only thing you see, then I'm going to be pretty happy. Next time you see this fender, it'll have its trim back on and hopefully back on the car. Okay, for now. All right, here the fender is on the car. Let's take a look at the color match between the doors. Depending on where you're at, the color match can be right on, more if you're in the shade. If you're in the bright light, it looks like the clear coat adds a little bit of haze to the way the paint looks, as you can see. Hopefully you can see right here. The sun is out in part of the garage, and it's kind of hard to see it. But Fender's looking good. Paint's looking good. I'm pretty happy with the door panel gaps. It looks about as good as they ever were. The matching up down here is looking pretty decent. I've got to say, overall, this looks pretty decent. Happy with the way that it came out. And I may do some final adjustments on here. This isn't overly big, but it's a little bigger than the rest. I'll see if I can tighten that particular gap up. But it's difficult to do without the front end on here. The rest of the front end's not on, the bumper's not on, so I'm not super worried about it right now. Not all the components are on the front end yet, but wanted you to get the chance to see the Fender on, and then I'll give my final thoughts. All right, my final thoughts. I thought for the most part the repair of the Fender went well. I mean, cutting out the bad Fender, welding on the new Fender, bondoing of it in to make it, you know, the repair disappear, the pounding out of the dent, all that went very well. The primer went well. I don't remember having any issues with the primer. The final coats, I ran into some orange peel issues. I'm not sure if it's the paint or my skill or where it is. I don't want to 100% blame the paint, but I've painted a lot of parts in the past, including the engine that's in the engine bay right now, and don't remember running into problems with orange peel like I have the Dupli-Color. I'm still going to make my mind up as to how I'm going to attack the other Fender, what kind of painting I'm going to be doing on it. I think I'm going to probably change the clear coat choice instead of going with Dupli-Color's clear coat, which I feel is kind of hazy. I'm going to probably go with a different clear coat. The other problem I don't like about it is I don't feel like the Dupli-Color clear is extremely hard. It doesn't, it seems like it could scratch easily or mark easily, and I want to try a harder clear coat that just can stand a little more abuse than I think that this clear can. So, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. I'm going to, like I said, I'll be tackling the next Fender in the next video. I will be doing some other videos on other topics. Hopefully you like this video. If you do, press the like key. I'm going to try to post more videos, so if you want to, you can subscribe. And I really appreciate you watching. Don't forget to leave your comments down in the bottom. You know, like I said, I'm not a professional. I'm just trying to do a decent job with the equipment that I have. But please leave your constructive criticism or comments down below. So, thank you. Have a good day.